I never imagined that an ordinary Sunday morning could rip open the veil between life and eternity. My name is Evelyn Grace Harper, and I was 62 years old when I died. For exactly 14 minutes. Doctors called it a massive stroke, a clinical event that should have ended in silence. But those 14 minutes became the loudest, clearest sermon I have ever heard. It wasn't preached in a church, and it wasn't delivered by a pastor. It was spoken by Jesus himself, and what he showed me broke my heart. That morning began like so many others. I was in my garden, whispering a simple prayer among the roses, asking God why the world seemed darker by the day. I remember tilting my head toward heaven. And then nothing. My knees buckled, my body fell, and my mind went blank. Yet in that same instant, my spirit woke up. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in my backyard. I stood in a realm of light, not sunlight, not any kind of brightness the human eye can endure. It was living light, pulsing with love and truth. Every breath felt electric with holiness. And then I saw him, Jesus, radiant beyond description. His glory was so overwhelming that my first instinct was to fall on my face, trembling in awe. "Evelyn," he said, and somehow my name carried the sound of eternity. "Lord," I whispered, my voice barely more than a thought. "I have brought you here," he continued, his tone filled with sorrow and love, "because my people are sleeping. They think they know the signs of my coming, but they have missed the most important one." The space around us shifted. I suddenly stood before a vast golden field, stretching beyond the horizon. At first I thought it was wheat, tall, beautiful, and ready for harvest. But as I looked closer, I realized each stalk wasn't just grain. It was a human soul, glowing faintly with spiritual life. "Look closer," Jesus said gently, and I did. Some stalks radiated a soft, pure light, full and mature, but others, though golden on the outside, were hollow within. They looked ready, but carried no life inside. "These are my people," he said, pointing to both. "Those that shine are ready for the harvest. But those that only appear ready have been deceived by comfort and tradition." A sudden wind began to sweep across the field. Powerful, divine. The glowing stalks were lifted up, rising effortlessly into the light. But the hollow ones stayed rooted, unmoving, though they bent as if trying to rise. "Lord, I try," I cried out. "Why can't they rise? What's holding them down?" "Watch," he said. In an instant, the scene changed again. I saw a woman in her 70s sitting in her usual church pew, the same seat she'd occupied for 40 years. She knew every hymn by heart, served on every committee, and smiled at everyone who passed. But as Jesus allowed me to see her heart, I saw that her faith had become routine. Her worship was social, not spiritual. Monday through Saturday, her life looked no different from her unbelieving neighbors. Her thoughts were consumed by finances, gossip, and entertainment, not by prayer or purpose. "She cannot rise," Jesus said softly. "Her roots are deep in this world. She calls me Lord, but her heart belongs to comfort." Then I saw a man in his 60s. His Bible was filled with notes, and he could recite prophecy better than most pastors. But his knowledge had become intellectual armor, protecting him from conviction. He debated end-time timelines, but his heart was cold. He could explain the Antichrist's plans, but was blind to the spiritual pride in his own life. "Knowledge without transformation," Jesus said, "creates the most dangerous deception. He knows about me, but he does not know me." Scene after scene passed, believers who appeared ready but were chained to earth by invisible cords. I saw pastors whose ministries had become about reputation rather than relationship. I saw elderly believers who had stopped seeking God, satisfied with memories of revival long gone. Their hearts had hardened through years of hearing truth without letting it change them. These are the ones who will be left behind, Jesus said, his voice heavy with sorrow. Not because I don't love them, but because they've chosen comfort over consecration, tradition over transformation, religion over relationship. I tried to protest. But Lord, they're good people. They believe in you. He turned to me, his eyes blazing with both compassion and authority. Evelyn, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And I will say, I never knew you. Their works were real, but their hearts were far. They settled for a form of godliness while denying its power. As he spoke, the light around him pulsed like a living heartbeat. Then he pointed to another scene, one filled with radiant believers. Their faces glowed not with perfection, but with passion. They weren't waiting for the rapture to escape hardship. They were living every day with holy expectancy, using every breath as worship. They loved Jesus more than comfort, more than possessions, more than their own lives. These are ready, he said. Their roots are in heaven, not in earth. The vision expanded again, showing churches across America filled with silver-haired saints who had served faithfully for decades. From the outside, these churches seemed solid, mature in faith, firm in doctrine. But when Jesus said, "Look at their hearts," I saw something that broke me completely. Many had stopped growing long ago. Decades of sermons had turned into background noise. Familiarity had replaced fire. I saw teachers who once wept in prayer, now teaching with dry lips and weary hearts. I saw deacons who once worshipped freely, now performing duties out of habit. They were not hypocrites, just comfortable. Chains began to appear, invisible yet heavy. Each link represented choices made over the years, moments when God called them deeper, but they stayed where it was safe. I saw chains of materialism, binding hearts to possessions and retirement plans, chains of fear, tightening with every news headline about the economy or health, chains of pride, forged by decades of being seen as spiritually mature, even when their prayer lives had withered. Then I saw it, the moment of the rapture. The heavens split like lightning, and in an instant, believers around the world began to rise. But to my horror, many pews remained filled. These weren't nominal Christians or backsliders. They were choir members, Sunday school teachers, elders, even pastors. Their hearts cried to rise, but their chains held them down. I saw a woman sobbing in her empty pew, realizing her husband was gone. I saw a retired pastor, frozen in disbelief as his congregation vanished. Jesus' voice echoed, "They were ready in knowledge, but not in heart." Salvation without sanctification produces no transformation. He showed me the difference between two groups of older believers. One had used time to deepen their faith through surrender. The other had used time to fortify their comfort, mistaking longevity for maturity. The former glowed brighter with each year. The latter dimmed slowly, their fire dying under layers of complacency. "Tell them," Jesus said, his tone both urgent and pleading, "tell my people that gray hair does not guarantee readiness." Church membership is not kingdom citizenship. Past encounters with me are not enough for future transformation. He revealed how many older Christians had quietly made idols of security, trusting retirement saving, health systems, or family more than God. Their blessings had become their bondage. "I gave them comfort, Ika," Jesus said, "not so they could rest, but so they could give. I blessed them to be generous, not to build walls of safety. They've turned my gifts into idols." Then came a vision of the tribulation. I saw those who were left behind, many older believers, struggling as the world collapsed. A global crisis spread, and a powerful leader promised peace, healthcare, and security. To receive these benefits, people had to take a mark. Some believers resisted. Others, terrified and frail, accepted it. Not out of rebellion, but desperation. One woman whispered through tears, "I just need my medication." Yet when she took the mark, her spirit dimmed like a candle in the wind. "She isn't evil," I cried. "No," Jesus said, "just untrained in trust." Her faith was real, but her foundation was comfort. But then I saw hope, a remnant of elderly saints who awakened too late for the rapture, but just in time for redemption. They refused the mark, even facing hunger and persecution. Their faith, once passive, now burned with raw devotion. They had learned to trust God when all else failed. Jesus turned to me one last time. "Evelyn, tell them this. Growing older in faith should mean growing closer to heaven, not clinging tighter to earth. I am coming soon. The harvest is ready. Only those whose hearts burn with love for me will rise." Then everything went silent. I awoke in the hospital, tears streaming down my face. The doctors called it a miracle, but I knew it was a mercy. I had been given one more chance, not just to live, but to warn. The message was clear: don't let the comfort of this world become the chains that keep you grounded when the trumpet sounds.